Hi, it's Jonathan, and welcome to another Sigillum Multarum video. Today we will continue covering the flags of states in the United States. This time we will cover the states from K to M. I was initially planning to cover the N's in this video as well, but since there are so many states beginning with N, I decided to give the N's its own video. You all thank me for this. Timestamps for the states from K to M are on screen right now and down in the description. Now, let's begin covering the flags. Kansas. The flag of Kansas is an SOB, a blue field with the state seal and name. Above the seal is a sunflower, the state flower of Kansas. Inside the seal is a lot of details. The sunrise in the seal represents the east. The wagon train heading west represents American expansion into Kansas, and more generally, the western United States. Native Americans hunting buffalo represent the people living in Kansas before American expansion. A settler's cabin with a man plowing the field in the foreground represents agriculture, and a steamboat on the river represents commerce. On top of the seal are 34 stars, representing how Kansas was the 34th state, and the state motto Ad Astra per Aspera, which is Latin for to the stars through difficulties. This flag was adopted in 1961, although a version without the state's name was used from 1927 until then. Not much else to say, so let's move quickly on to the other K. Kentucky. The flag of the Commonwealth of Kentucky is also an SOB, a blue field with the state's seal on it. Around the seal are goldenrod. The state flower, and the words Commonwealth of Kentucky, the official name of the state. In the seal, a frontiersman and a statesman embrace one another. It is often believed that the frontiersman represents Daniel Boone, who played a role in settling Kentucky, while the statesman is Henry Clay, Kentucky's most famous politician. However, the official explanation is that the frontiersman and the statesman in the seal represents frontiersmen and statesmen in general, and not any specific people. Around the frontiersman and statesman is the phrase, "United we stand, divided we fall," which is simultaneously one of Kentucky's mottos and an American patriotic saying. This flag was adopted in 1963, although an older version from 1918 renders the seal differently, says Kentucky's short name instead of the official name, and includes the year 1792, when Kentucky became a state. One last thing to mention here is that the flag of Kentucky is another one of the US flags to have a Pledge of Allegiance, inspired and used alongside the US Pledge of Allegiance. The Kentucky Pledge of Allegiance states, "I pledge allegiance to the Kentucky flag and to the sovereign state for which it stands, one commonwealth blessed with diversity, natural wealth, beauty, and grace from on high." That's all for Kentucky, so on to the next letter. Louisiana. The flag of Louisiana is the first flag of today to have had a long history. The flag is a blue field with a mother pelican in a nest feeding blood to her young, with a scroll underneath saying, "Unity, Justice, Confidence." We will go over the symbolism in a bit, but first we will go over its history. Before 1861, Louisiana did not have an official flag, although a flag similar to today's was used. Then, in January 1861, Louisiana declared itself an independent country, becoming a state within the Confederate States of America in March. In those few months between Louisiana's secession from the Union and its accession to the Confederacy, Louisiana adopted several flags. First, Louisiana is said to have used a French-inspired tricolor with 5 stars in the canton. However, not only was this flag unofficial, it might not even have been used by Louisiana itself, but rather by Confederate customs ships. Another more official flag was this thing. It was adopted on February 11, 1861, and featured 13 blue, white, and red stripes of a red canton and a gold star. The colors of the stripes represent France, which once ruled Louisiana from 1642 to 1763, and again from 1801 to 1803. While the colors of the canton represent Spain, which also once ruled Louisiana from 1762 to 1801. One more secessionist flag was used by the convention that declared Louisiana's secession from the US. This flag was a white field with a red star containing the pelican nest emblem that also featured on the older unofficial Louisiana flags. These three secessionist flags did not last long, and the unofficial pelican flag from before was more commonly used during and after the American Civil War. In 1912, a modified version of the pelican nest was finally adopted as the flag of Louisiana. The 1912 flag was used until 2006, when an inconsistency between the 1912 flag and the pre-1912 flags was noticed. In the 19th century, the mother pelican on the flag fed her young with blood, but not on the official 1912 flag. This inconsistency was noticed by an 8th grade student at Vanderbilt Catholic High School in Houma, Louisiana. The student informed his local representative about this, and the pelican was bled later that year. This flag lasted until November 22, 2010, when this flag was redesigned to what it is today. Now, let's look at the symbolism. For a person who knows a bit about birds, a pelican bleeding into her chicks is a bit odd, since pelicans don't feed their chicks blood. However, in Europe during the ever unscientific Middle Ages, it was thought that pelican mothers do in fact injure themselves to feed their young when no food was available. As a result, the depiction of a pelican giving her youth blood became known as a pelican in her piety, and is used as a symbol of self-sacrifice. Therefore, the pelican on the Louisiana flag represents this value. As for the ribbon below the pelican's nest, it says, "Unity, Justice, Confidence," the state motto of Louisiana. One last thing for me to mention in this segment is that Louisiana's flag also has a Pledge of Allegiance, making mention of the state motto. The Louisiana Pledge of Allegiance states, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the state of Louisiana, and to the motto for which it stands, a state, under God, united in purpose and ideals, confident that justice shall prevail for all of those abiding here." Now, let's move north for our next flag. Maine. The next flag we will be covering in today's video is the flag of Maine, a blue SOB with the Maine coat of arms on it. We will get to the current one later, so let's check out some history. Before 1901, Maine did not have an official flag, although a semi-official one was used by the Maine militia from 1822 until the American Civil War. In 1901, Maine adopted its first official flag, a puff field with a pine tree in the center, representing freedom in New England, and the canton, representing the North Star. On February 23, 1909, this flag was replaced by the SOB that Maine still uses today. However, since 1991, many vexillologists in Maine have proposed restoring the 1901 flag, due to the SOB design being used by over half of US state flags. These proposals have not made it out of Maine's legislature, although the use of the old flag of Maine is still being advocated for by vexillologists and local businesses, the latter putting the old flag on everything from shirts to hats to pillows to stickers. However, considering Maine still uses the SOB, let's check out symbolism. The seal in the flag contains a moose, an animal that is common in Maine. The tree behind the moose represents Maine itself. The seal is supported by a farmer and a seaman, representing the importance of agriculture and fishing to Maine respectfully. The star represents the North Star, as we have seen in the old flag of Maine. The motto at the top of the coat of arms says Dirigo, which is Latin for I lead or I guide. I've heard one rumor claim that this was because Maine once held its gubernatorial elections in September instead of November, resulting in the gubernatorial election results in Maine being a popular predictor of presidential election results nationwide until 1932. It is true that Maine held its gubernatorial elections in September until 1960, and that the elections to the governor of Maine was used to predict presidential elections until 1932, as summed up in the saying, "As Maine goes, so does the nation." However, the only evidence I have found connecting Dirigo to this phenomenon is an unsourced section of the Wikipedia article on the seal of Maine. If you know how Wikipedia works, you know that if something on Wikipedia does not have a source, it is a bit suspicious. What is a bit less suspicious is that the flag of Maine has two more variations. White field with a green tree, a blue anchor, and the state's name is used as a merchant and marine ensign by ships based out of Maine. One of two states to have a separate ensign from the state flag. Another variation of the state flag is designed for Maine's bicentennial in 2020, and features a dark blue field with a light blue line at the bottom, the green tree from the ensign, and the North Star from the seal. The Maine 2020 bicentennial flag is meant to represent the view of looking out from a forest next to water at night. And now you know how a more detailed US flag became an SOB. Now for a more distinctive flag. Maryland. The next flag we will be covering is a more creative and distinguishable use of a coat of arms, the flag of Maryland. In order to understand its meaning, we need to look at Maryland before it had a flag. From 1632 until 1776, Maryland was a colony of England, and later Great Britain. For most of that time, the province of Maryland was ruled by the British noblemen known collectively as the Barons Baltimore, the title that the city derives its name from. The coat of arms of the first governor of Maryland, Cecil Calvert, 2nd Baron Baltimore, featured two leopards supporting a shield. The shield's top left and bottom right corners include a black and gold pattern, representing the Calvert family, of which the 2nd Baron Baltimore's father, George Calvert, was a member of, while the shield's top right and bottom left corners featured a red and white cross, representing the Crossland family, of which George Calvert's mother was a member of. The British stopped ruling Maryland after the United States was founded in 1776, but the shield of the Barons Baltimore are featured on the reverse of the seal of Maryland. The quarters of the shield also inspired two opposing political flags during the American Civil War. The black and gold Calvert corners of the shield inspired the flag used by Unionists in Maryland, while the Crossland corners of the flag inspired the Crossland banner or secession colors of Maryland supporters of the Confederacy. After the American Civil War, an SOB was used, featuring the seal of Maryland on a blue field. This flag lasted until 1904 when the current flag was adopted. It is a banner of arms, a flag based on the shield of a coat of arms. As I have said during the history of the Maryland flag, the flag represents two families of British noblemen which the colonial governors were descent from. The black and gold patterns on two of the corners represent the Calvert family, while the red and white crosses on the other two corners are the Crossfields. That's all for this segment, so on to the next flag. Massachusetts. The flag of Massachusetts is a white field with the state's coat of arms on it. The coat of arms consists of a shield with a ribbon around the shield. The ribbon says the motto of Massachusetts, Ense Petit Sub Libertate Quietem, which is Latin for, by the sword we seek peace, but peace only under liberty. Inside the shield is a Native American, ostensibly representing the people living in Massachusetts before the English arrived. However, interestingly enough, the Native American in the shield was modeled by an Ojibwe chief from Montana. If this does not explain why the coat of arms has become controversial recently, then maybe the sword on top of the shield will. Depending on who you ask, the sword is either a symbol of the American Revolution or the weapon that will decapitate this very out-of-place Ojibwe. What is more certain and less controversial is that the star in the shield represents Massachusetts being a state of the United States. The current flag was adopted in 1908, although from 1908 until 1971, the reverse or back of the flag of Massachusetts showed a shield with a pine tree on it. Speaking of pine trees, Massachusetts is the only U.S. state other than Maine to have an ensign separate from the state flag. Since 1971, ships operating out of Massachusetts have flown a white field with a green pine tree on it. This flag was based on an older design in use from 1776 to 1971, which rendered the tree differently and featured the phrase, "An appeal to heaven," hence why this flag is sometimes called the "An appeal to heaven" flag, or the pine tree flag. That's all for Massachusetts, so on to our next M. Michigan. This is the flag of Michigan. As one Michigander put it, the state seal left to drown in a sea of blue. We will get to the symbolism in a bit, but let's check out its history first. The current flag of Michigan is only the third state flag to have been adopted. Before 1865, Michigan used a flag of which no known pictures exist. So I made a reconstruction. The first flag of Michigan features the state seal on one side, and unusually enough, someone's portrait. That someone is Stevens T. Mason, the first governor of the state of Michigan, who served from Michigan statehood in 1835 to 1840. This flag was replaced in 1865 by another flag which I had to recreate for the video, this time replacing the portrait of the American coat of arms. This flag was used until 1911, when the current flag was adopted. Despite some proposals in 2016 for a competition to design a new state flag, this flag is still in use today. Now, let's look at the symbolism. The coat of arms includes a shield supported by an elk and a moose, which represents Michigan's wildlife. Inside the shield is the sun rising over a lake and a peninsula, and a man raising one hand and holding a long gun with the other. The raised hand represents peace, while the gun represents the defense of the state and the US. At the top of the shield is the Latin word Tuebor, which means I will defend. The elk, moose, and shield are standing on a white ribbon with the motto of Michigan, Si claris peninsulam amonam circumspes, which is Latin for if you seek a pleasant peninsula, look around you. This motto is a reference to Michigan being made up of two peninsulas. Above the shield is a bald eagle, representing the United States, and the American motto E pluribus unum, or Av Many One. Now that we have covered the symbolism, there's one more thing to mention about the flag of Michigan. It is another one of the US states to have its own Pledge of Allegiance. It says, I pledge allegiance to the flag of Michigan, and to the state for which it stands, two beautiful peninsulas, united by a bridge of steel, where equal opportunity and justice to all is our ideal. The bridge of steel in this pledge refers to the Mackinac Bridge, a literal bridge connecting the two peninsulas. Now, on to our next flag. Minnesota. The next flag we will cover is yet another SOB flag in the Midwest. The flag of Minnesota is a light blue field with an overly detailed seal. In order to understand its history, let's take a look at the excessive symbolism. The seal on the flag is surrounded by a white circle with a gold rim. Inside the outer circle are 19 stars arranged in a star-like shape. The 19 stars represent how Minnesota is the 32nd US state overall, or the 19th state to be admitted after the 13 colonies. The star at the top of the seal represents the North Star. Other than a star of stars, the seal itself is surrounded by a wreath of pink and white lady slippers, the state flower of Minnesota. Among the flowers are two notable years in Minnesota's history. 1819 was the establishment of Fort Snelling, an early U.S. Army fort in Minnesota, while 1893 was the year that the first flag of Minnesota was adopted. At the top of the seal is a third year. 1858 was the year that Minnesota became a U.S. state. Below the year 1858 is the motto of Minnesota, L'Étoile du Nord, a French phrase literally meaning the Star of the North, but also translating as the North Star. Below the motto is a Native American riding a horse, representing the Native American population. In the foreground is a farmer with a plow, representing agriculture's importance in Minnesota. The farmer's axe, gun, and powder horn lay on a stump nearby, which represents lumber's historical importance in Minnesota. Now, let's get on to the history. Before 1893, Minnesota did not have a flag. This changed that year when Minnesota sponsored an exhibit at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. As a result, Minnesota's first flag was adopted on April 4, 1893. The obverse of this flag had a white field of the state seal surrounded by moccasin flowers and a ribbon tied to the seal, while the reverse was the same thing on a blue field. This lasted until 1957 when a new flag was adopted ahead of the 100th anniversary of Minnesota becoming a state in 1858. The dual fields were replaced by a uniformly dark blue field to make the flag less expensive and more durable. Meanwhile, the 1957 flag corrected an error from the 1893 flag by replacing the moccasin flowers with today's pink and white ladies' slippers. Because although pink and white lady slippers are actually the state flower of Minnesota, moccasins aren't even native to Minnesota. The most recent change to the flag of Minnesota came in 1983 when the seal was changed to a newer design, and the dark blue field was changed to light blue. This flag is still in use today, although it has been criticized by vexillophiles for being an SOB like half the country, and for having an excessively complicated seal. And as a scriptwriter and vexillophile, I say they have a point. As a result, many proposed designs for a more distinguishable Minnesota flag have popped up in the last 30 years. The most notable one was from 1989, when vexillologists William Becker and Lee Harold proposed the North Star flag, a blue field representing rivers and lakes, with a white wave toward the bottom of the flag, with white representing winter and waves representing how Minnesota's name is Dakota for cloudy water, a green wave below the white one for farmland and forests, and a gold star in the canton, representing Minnesota's natural wealth and the North Star. This is just a major proposal. 9 more from 2017 can be found in the description. Now, onto a state that is currently changing its flag. Mississippi. As of the release of this video, Mississippi does not have a state flag. However, it does have a history so complicated that it actually deserves its own video. I will link this unlisted video down in the description. Now, onto a state that does have a flag. Missouri. Our next flag is the flag of Missouri, a red, white, blue triband with Missouri's seal on it. Blue represents Missouri's permanency, justice, and vigilance. White represents purity, and red represents valor. In the center of the flag is the seal of Missouri, surrounded by a blue band of 24 white stars, representing Missouri being the 24th state. Inside the seal is the coat of arms supported by 2 bears, representing Missouri's bear population. The bears and the coat of arms are standing on a ribbon with Missouri's motto, Salus Populi Suprema Lex Esto, a Latin phrase that, among other things, can be interpreted as meaning, let the good of the people be the supreme law. Below the motto is the Latin numerals for 1820, ostensibly the year Missouri became a state. However, Missouri actually became a state on August 10, 1821, a year after the date mentioned on the seal. Above the coat of arms are 24 more stars, which, like the ones on the rim of the seal, represent Missouri being the 24th state. One of them is larger than the others to represent Missouri itself. Below the Missouri star is a knight's helmet representing Missouri's self-government. In a similar theme, the bottom of the coat of arms has a belt buckle, representing how, according to the South at the time, Missouri can secede, or unbuckle the belt from the U.S. if necessary. This seal was designed in 1822, long before the U.S. Supreme Court ruled disability unconstitutional following the Civil War. Along the rim of the coat of arms is the phrase, United we stand, divided we fall, a patriotic U.S. slogan. Within the coat of arms itself are 3 sections. One quarter is blue with a white crescent moon on it, representing the Virgin Mary, Missouri being a former French colony, and how recent Missouri's statehood was when the seal was adopted. Another quarter is red with a white bear, representing the wildlife of Missouri, not unlike its supporters. The rest of the seal has the coat of arms of the United States on it. Quite a complicated coat of arms for such a simple tribar. Now, onto our last seal. Montana. This is the flag of Montana, a blue field with the state seal and the name of the state, which by the way is written in Helvetica bold. The waterfall in the seal is one of the Great Falls, a series of waterfalls on the Missouri River. A plow, shovel, and pick lay in front of the waterfall, representing the farming and mining industries of Montana. In front of the tools is a ribbon with the motto of Montana, Oro y Plata, which is Spanish for gold and silver. That is the symbolism of the flag of Montana. This flag was adopted in its current form on July 1st, 1981, although an older flag was used from 1905 to 1981. This old flag is similar to the current one, but more square and without the state's name. That's all for today, so let's move on to the outro. And now you know even more about US state flags. The ends will come out soon, so stay tuned for more Sigillum Multarum. For now, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like on it. If you enjoyed the entire channel, subscribe to it. And if you want to know when my next video will be coming out, click the bell button after you subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.